What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about good men and if they exist. Before we start, I like to define what a good man is. In its simplest form, a good man is a man who is honest, supportive, loyal, protective, and loving. He's not a perfect man, just a man who means well and does well. Listen, expressing the other side may trigger some women, as I know many don't listen for understanding, but for validation. This isn't intended to victimize men, because real men don't want your pity. Every time I say the phrase good men in one of my videos, I get all types of comments saying they don't exist and all men are dogs. And while I really do empathize with a lot of women that that's not their experience, I emphatically disagree. I'm not a dog. None of my friends mistreat their women. I've known countless men who wanted something real and wanted something substantial with a woman. In fact, players and men who have their way with women are many times admired because they're so rare. Not the ambition, but the skill set to actually go out and execute such a dream. Of the good men I know who wanted something real and substantial, many of those men have found love, but also just as many on the road to finding love were misused by women. I myself have felt great pain and witnessed great pain at the hands of women, yet and still the statement, all women are trash, makes no sense at all. It's just as dumb a statement as it's ever been. Even so, that pain isn't without consequence. Heartbreak causes men to start to protect themselves from love sometimes, because the most masculine men take pride in feeling strong and mighty. But you don't feel strong when your chest is aching and your voice is cracking and your eyes are watery. You don't feel mighty while your heart is broken. So it's easier to feel a sense of control again if you create an enemy out of women. That's because for most men, it's easier to be angry than it is to be vulnerable. In the same way, out of a need to protect themselves, many scorned women make an enemy of men. Anger, while it can restore a sense of safety and control, often causes us to commit to our misunderstandings. Women become bitches to protect a man's fragile ego, and men become low-down dirty dogs to protect a woman's fragile heart. The sad thing is, both just want safe, loyal love. Prejudice, sexism, and self-pity doesn't bring peace to anyone, and mislabeling an entire sex is asinine. Some of us need to learn how to more appropriately process disappointment. And something else about this bothers me. I haven't met very many women who believe good men don't exist, who also prioritize goodness when they choose a man. The things they're attracted to or used to choose a suitable man aren't good man qualities. Their qualifiers have nothing to do with a man's goodness. When I meet many of my clients for the first time and we have our first hour-long conversation, one thing is often very apparent by the end of that conversation. Signs of goodness aren't even on the list of primary qualifiers when they choose their man. They treat goodness as a bonus or an afterthought. On the list of priorities, it typically goes in this order or something like it. Spark, threat of rejection, attraction, entertainment value, and finances. They round out the top 5. Thought process and mental stimulation are out of the top 5 because most people normally text out of fear or laziness. It's very difficult to get an accurate reading of a person's thought processing and intellectual capacity through text messaging. Many just flirt through text and start feeling sparks because they're already attracted to each other. Emotional management skills and the ability to communicate are also not measured very well through text. But clearly in choosing a partner, these things should be near the top of the list. Generally, because a man's entertainment value and a woman's attraction to him go neck and neck on the list of importance. The entertainment choice for two people who haven't built an intellectual rapport because they're not quote-unquote phone people is often sex. Needless to say, building a relationship on that does not necessarily lead to good relationships because you haven't looked for a good man. Just a fun one. Something else that always interests me is a lot of women are completely oblivious to the greatest men around them. And those who are oftentimes will disqualify men they deem as nice before they ever even give them a chance, before they ever explore them at all. Meanwhile, good men all over this world eat dinner alone and sleep alone, desperate to figure women out, wondering things like this. Why is being a good man not good enough? Why isn't a man measured by his heart but by his ego? What's wrong with me? Or why is it so bad to return every text or every call regularly? Many have asked me, how can you respect a person too much? What does that even mean? Why is that a thing? Why won't she give me a chance? Why do women chase assholes who don't care about them and then act surprised when it doesn't work out? These are just some of the questions that plague men who don't find themselves having success with women but know they are quality people. And unfortunately, the answers to some of these questions often leads them away from their goodness. When that happens, it's not about vengeance, it's about success. Men just want to succeed with women, so they do what works. Yes, it's well documented that nice guys come with their own set of flaws, but many of them still make amazing partners. That's because good men exist, perfect men do not. Besides, many of the jerks that a lot of women are following around are far from perfect. They're even more flawed than the nice guys that women complain about. To be quite honest, good men are very tired of hearing about how we don't exist. We do exist, and it's very irritating to hear about that, especially when all of us have the shared experience of being looked over for a lesser man. Now listen, I'm no victim. Overall, I've done very well with women in my life. However, before I learned to strategically hide my goodness, I suffered my fair share of disappointments. And most of those happened when I was identified as a nice guy. Once a woman identifies you as nice, it's all downhill from there. She dismisses every one of your other strong qualities. Again, I'm no victim. While I was dating, there were many times where I was the bigger, stronger, faster, tougher, wiser, more handsome, more mature, more loyal, more financially stable guy with a better personality and a bigger Johnson. And I still got looked over at times for some dirty ass, puny ass little scrub because he had a bag of dope in his pocket and she liked bad boys. My experience isn't unique. Every good man I know has a similar story. Y'all didn't hear about it, and you probably won't, because it's not socially acceptable for men to whine and bitch about how bad they have it. We look weak expressing grief and pain from failed attempts at love. My comment section is often full of women giving full, tearful disclosures of how they've been hurt. And that's perfectly acceptable, because women expect that of each other. But just because it's not expected or accepted for men to express that level of sorrow doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. As quiet as it's kept, to good men, what seems to be more rare than the presence of good men is the presence of good women who are spiritually in tune enough to be attracted to and magnetized to one. Many men would ask, where are those women? Where are all these women who say they're looking for something real, who actually respond when something real is presented to them without any games? These are the questions that good men ask me. Most of y'all determine that y'all like a guy before you determine whether or not he's good. If an application was ever required to date some women, goodness and character would be optional. Fill it out or don't fill it out. They won't give a damn. Just write NA, non-applicable. That part of the application would say preferred but not required. As with any job, when you lower the barriers of entry or the character standards, you build in your application accommodations for deficiency. So with that said, just because you haven't been genuinely attracted to any good men doesn't mean good men don't exist. Just because character doesn't get you all hot in the pants like street credibility or emotional unavailability doesn't mean that the good men aren't out here. Just because some aren't your type or are hard to find in your preferred type doesn't mean they don't exist. Saying that makes no sense at all. That's like saying good people don't exist. Many of you watching would probably identify as good women. Just as many men might see this video and beg to differ because they have a similar experience as you, disappointment. Good women are definitely out here and so are good men, right next to the shitty ones. I say this in love, but many of you should probably stop picking the shitty ones and then friend zoning every good man you meet. But I suppose that's a debate for another day. It just seems like a lot of women take a whole bunch of stuff from jerks and then require perfection from a good man just so he can get to a second date. But what do I know? I'm just a good man. Anyway, that's all I got for now. For emails and consultations, go to www.girltalkwithguys.com. Follow me on Instagram at kfic24. I'll get with y'all later.